what's happening and what community colleges are capable of, and having community college baccalaureates be part of that. And this could really be our shining moment, and not because we're looking as a system for any glory, but it's what we have been, what we have felt is our role in this nation all along.
Right.
So, I mean, it gives me kind of tingles that, you know, we can really do this together with people like you leading, and many others.
Absolutely, Angela. We think about upward mobility, economic mobility, and democracy. They all go together, and the community colleges are grounded in that matrix. I mean, that's the ground that we grew out of. And the baccalaureate degree movement in the community colleges is a natural outgrowth of that. And knowing that, you know, so many of our applied associates degrees historically those credits have not been accepted at universities. Really prompted the development of the baccalaureate, the applied baccalaureate in the community colleges. And it creates this upward path for students who might not be able to take another path because of life circumstance, and creates those opportunities that weren't there before. Now, I think about our ESL students, for example. There's really no other entry to higher education except through the community colleges for many of our domestic English as a second language students. And, you know, they generally would not be admitted into a university. But they can come to a community college and progress through our basic skills, our ESL curriculum and courses, and transition either to do developmental education or to college coursework. And through integrated education and training strategies, they could transition into an applied associate's degree. And through an AAS and a BAS, they can then go all the way to a 4-year. So, you know, I think about areas where bilingualism is a real strength, and how if you could create a career pathway, let's say from an ESL class through an IET approach to an accounting certificate. And then from an accounting certificate, you could stack that into an applied associates in business. And then through an AAS in business, stack that onto a BAS in international business, where bilingualism is a strength, right?
Right.
You're able to then flip the paradigm where bilingualism is seen sometimes as a deficiency, what it really is, and that's a strength, right? Within a sector that truly values bilingualism and biculturalism. International business folks have many war stories over blowing deals because somebody didn't understand
the language or the culture.
Exactly, right?
Right.
It's very difficult to make a native English speaker a native speaker of Spanish or Korean 2 years, right? But we have people who grew up speaking Korean, or grew up speaking Mandarin, or grew up speaking Tagalog or Spanish, and are becoming fluent in English. And if they can acquire English within the context of, let's say, accounting or healthcare, then that only enhances the acquisition process and makes it more relevant, and students do better. So, you know, nowhere else in higher ed could
that happen,
right?
Yes.
Get to a 4-year degree, except through the community college and the community colleges that offer applied baccalaureates.
Right. And so, you know, we've been talking about, you spoke about the last recovery. And so when we look at the statistics on that, the folks who made the recovery, but many of them, the majority of them also had baccalaureate degrees.
Yep.
And, the same is true now for that work from home economy. Many of the people who are able to work from home also have a baccalaureate degree. You can't clean a hotel room from your home. And so we're seeing that same thing play again. And so could you talk about that a little bit, as the
Absolutely.
baccalaureate as a pathway to equity and financial and economic stability?
Right, right. Yeah, and another piece that I would add is the stackability of that pathway
Yes.
to meet the very busy lives of our adult students with an average age of 28. Um, Also, this is an equity issue because of the large number of adults in this country that are at the lowest levels of literacy and numeracy, are over the age of 25. Here in Oregon, we have 148,000 adults over the age of 25 making less than 15 an hour, and over 250,000 of them, I think it's about 275,000, do not have a high school credential. And so there's large numbers of adults in the United States that that need a ladder for basic skills that then stacks into a career pathway that could then culminate in an applied baccalaureate.
Yeah.
This population is very diverse, incredibly diverse. And you can see it on any of our campuses. When you walk into an ESL class or a basic skills class, incredibly diverse student population, right? That's our country. And so creating a pathway for a highly diverse student population all the way to a 4-year, it's an equity strategy, no question about it. And if we're going to have an equitable recovery, we need an applied baccalaureate in the community colleges.
True. And it's not just, and it's not just, it's not that CCBA believes that the only pathway to the baccalaureate is through the community college for the community college student. We just think it's one way, it's another way, and it's an important way for a population that they're not going to get any other way, possibly.
Yes, unless a university or a 4-year regional is open access, then the community colleges are open access, right? Yes, we do transfer a lot of students to the 4-year, our 4-year partners. However, many of those students, particularly our basic skill students, might not be accepted immediately had they applied prior to coming to community college. So the community colleges remain the only pathway for a large segment of our adult population in the United States. And because of the different pathways, they make the applied baccalaureate much more important for this population. The other piece is that employers are accepting the applied baccalaureate, right?
And fully engaging with it, yes.
They're engaging with it. They're helping to design them. They value the credential in the job markets, and our graduates are experiencing. It's my understanding our graduates do experience that wage progression associated with. So absolutely, it enhances upward and economic mobility and equity at the same time.
Right. And that's one of the things that CCBA has done is also create partnerships with universities so that students can take that bachelor's degree and then move to a master's degree. There's nothing quite like a master's degree and a doctorate degree to help really solidify a family in an upward trajectory. And so we're quite proud of that. And, we've had some students speak at the conference who have used that pathway. So that has been very, very exciting. So So I know that Oregon is now starting baccalaureate degrees. And so I'm interested, which degrees is PCC looking at?
Well, the pandemic has put
Yes.
uh, it has slowed us down
Right.
in respect, and we're dealing with what everybody's dealing with in terms of not only the transition to online and remote instruction and student services, but as I mentioned earlier, the delivery and integration of different supports for students,
Mhm.
and then planning on potential reopenings depending on scientific breakthrough, public health breakthroughs. So that's really consumed so much of our time. I can tell you what I would bring to the table in terms of looking at it, and that is certainly around the emerging and strong sectors that have demonstrated need, that are going to be relatively automation proof and
Right.
now pandemic proof as well, where the demand is going to be there, whether there's a pandemic or not. And also where there are employers that not only are, wanting to work with us, but also want to hire and retain a more diverse workforce. Um, and know that um, the demographic milestone of no single racial majority is not that far away for our
Mhm.
country.
Right.
And not only does it make sense from a moral perspective and a social justice perspective, but it also is good business to have a highly trained and educated and diverse workforce
Right.
in a wide variety of sectors. And so those were three areas, that we would look for, that I would look for sure. Um, and I think that as we take a look at the post-pandemic landscape and we think about the sectors that will emerge, uh, we know that the skill levels that are going to be required post-pandemic are going to continue to elevate. That's been the pattern in every recessionary recovery cycle that we've had for the past many decades. That when you go through a recession um, and then go into the recovery, yes, some of those jobs that you lost come back. That's
Right.
true. And there are new jobs that come back, and there are new jobs that are developed, and the old jobs have higher skill levels and skill requirements. So there are a variety of different sectors I think that could fit. We have not made any final decisions, but I just wanted to share what I certainly will be looking for. I have the opportunity to co-chair a task force on artificial intelligence um,
Mhm.
for the Governor's Workforce Talent Development Board, and um, there are some studies. McKinsey, for example, has projected a methodology. They have developed a methodology for projecting the impact of automation on different communities, particularly communities of color.
Mhm.
Um, and there are communities of color that are at greater risk economically because of the acceleration of the coming wave of automation, largely enhanced by artificial intelligence. And if we're going to get ahead of that, we need to have policies and programs that reach out proactively to communities that are going to be impacted to either retrain or upskill or both, uh, while we have time, in order to mitigate the impact of the wave of automation, because employers are not only trying to increase their productivity after a recession or during a recession. They're also trying to pandemic proof their operations now. And both of those herald a increase in automation.
So early in my career, I would always say, we don't want to have programs that educate people so that they can stay in poverty. So we want to have programs that are anti-poverty or poverty-proof. And then a few years back, I added to that, poverty-proof, but now also automation-proof. And after this conversation, I hadn't put it into a thought yet, but now I need to add, for Mark Mitsui, pandemic proof, because this isn't going to be our last one. I wish it were, but so we've got to add that now into how, when we think about programs, which programs we select and what are the new careers that are going to be out there for our students.
Yes, and what thinking skills are embedded across those sectors. Some of the futurists that have looked at automation are fond of saying that the skills make humans better humans will be more highly prized in the market, and happy development, right? Because these skills are also difficult to automate, right?
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness humans will still be able to do something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then how do you deliver those remotely, right? And online. And there'll also be a need for in-depth technical knowledge. So there's sort of an evolving notion of a T-shaped curriculum, sort of this bar across the top of the T are those transmural, more general employability skills. And then the stem of the T is a more in-depth dive into a specific technical area. Let's say like artificial intelligence. The other piece to those, another bar, and that is the
drawing this out here.
I know, yeah. It's the application of AI across sectors. So it's already a part of our cell phones. It's already a part of driving, right? It's already a part of healthcare, yeah, right? So if you are a medical assistant, what do you need to know about AI software? What do you need to know if you're a programmer? There is software that writes software. So how does AI impact all of these different areas? And then how do we work with the technical aspects of that while enhancing our humanness, right?
Right, communication, and what is communication, problem solving. One of the things that's been so enriching for me is my husband and I are homeschooling our grandkids, 3rd grade and kindergarten. And the amount of critical thinking that they're teaching in the curriculum. I'd heard, they're teaching programming, and I was, that's really interesting. But when I see the amount of critical thinking and analysis that they're teaching, that is what really gets me excited, because those skills never go away. Those are only enhanced.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Very
good.
Exciting.
Yeah. 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 It's, I think, pointing also toward an intersectionality of disciplines. The humanities have been sort of under attack for a while, right?
And underappreciated, huh?
Underappreciated, right? And now the critical thinking, the communication skills, the ability to work in diverse work teams, the nuanced communications that the humanities and liberal arts also tend to foster, coming back into the forefront, partly due to AI. These are very hard to automate skills.
Yeah.
Machines are good at mimicking, but not necessarily as good at generating authentically those different aspects. So I think for us in the community colleges, it points to the importance of looking at things in a very intersectional way.
Mm-hmm.
The permutation or the membrane between CTE and academic transfer uh, has to become a lot more permeable,
Right.
and those demarcations are becoming less and less pronounced, I think, as
Yes.
take a look at the complex skills that you saw,
Right.
right? The manufacturing floors are not what our parents worked on,
Right.
right? Yeah,
They're not
people,
machinists anymore, really.
very different, and uh, it's getting even more complex. We're building our Oregon Manufacturing Innovation Center training center here in Columbia County outside of Portland, and um, just the conversations that are being had in terms of the planning that is needed to develop the curriculum, they're just I I'm hearing are just amazing from the folks that are working on it. And advanced manufacturing is a good
And
example.
are you including industry people in those conversations?
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely, definitely. Um, yeah, the machines are just amazing.
I think that's another thing that community colleges do very well, is to bring folks together from industries with faculty and staff to talk about, what curriculum design should look like, what are the key concepts, and not only what do we teach folks today, but what can we teach them so that they can help continue to build skills.
Absolutely. Yeah. Stackability of credentials, which sort of
Mm-hmm.
follows the stackability of the curriculum, are very, very important concepts.
Yes.
The training cycles are getting shorter. I mean, the training requirements, the time period between breakthroughs is getting shorter and shorter, right? Moore's law is becoming out of date, and
Right.
we need retraining and upskilling almost constantly. So that does mean a short cycle between innovation and application. And that's sort of what OMIC, the Oregon Manufacturing Innovation Center, is about.
Mm-hmm.
Research and Development Center is just a block or two away from the training center. And the R&D Center is run by the Oregon Institute of Technology and their partners. And then we're going to run the Training and Development Center. And the goal is to put research and development breakthrough in close proximity in space and time to the training process. So that breakthroughs in manufacturing technology are replicated quickly or influence the training process quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And then employers have a trained workforce with leading edge technology. But yeah, that cycle is going to get shortened for sure. And again, in order to make it an equitable recovery, we need to make sure that as diverse as possible, a student corps has access to the leading edge training.
Well, Mark, I want to thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I know how many things you have, how many plates you're spinning in the air at any given moment. So I appreciate that. You have any last words you might want to say to folks that are considering community college baccalaureate degrees, considering starting them or advocating for them?
Yes. Well, they are a engine of economic opportunity and mobility. And that I think, based on my experience at North Seattle College, and the Baccalaureate of Applied Science and International Business that we started there, that industry and your university partners all are very supportive, have been were supportive of that, and I believe of subsequent BAS efforts at that institution as well. I guess I think about the student. We always go back, as we should, to the student.
Right.
And what the Applied Baccalaureate means to students who may not have any other pathway to a four-year degree, and what that means to the student, to their family, and to their community. I think of all the talent that is being unleashed, so to speak, through an Applied Baccalaureate opportunity, and the amazing things that these students are doing, and the many great achievements that are yet to be realized until we offer more opportunities for students to engage. It's a very practical yet visionary type of program, and it adds a lot to a community college as you go through the process. And I think you'll find that community colleges that have gone through it, it has really energized and created a new discourse on the campus as folks are discovering, what's entailed and what the outcomes are for students. So again, you're staying true to your original mission. This does not change the foundational mission of the community colleges as open access institutions. Mm-hmm. I don't know of any community colleges with applied baccalaureates that have developed Division I athletic programs as a result. No, it's not. It doesn't. You can stay true to your original mission.
Absolutely.
But an applied baccalaureate, it's really an extension of the mission.
Right.
And thinking back to the 1947 Truman Commission report that was intended that outlined the need for a national network of community colleges as a pathway to upward mobility, but also a way to strengthen our democracy. Right. I think the applied baccalaureate fits well within that framework.
Well, thank you, Mark, and wish you all of the very, very best, and so excited about what you're doing in Oregon, and I really can't wait to hear some of the results. I think they're going to be just historic. So
Thank you. Yeah, well, we'll get through the pandemic.
We'll get through the pandemic.
And then pick up where we left off.
Yeah, we'll emerge stronger.
Yeah.
But it's going to take more work.
Yes, yeah, that's true.
Mark, thank you. Thank you for your time, Mark. I really appreciate it.
Bye-bye.